We got our guest. It's New York City mayoral candidate Jim Walden, I believe, running as an independent. Um,
Welcome to the
hear,
show.
hear from the only names I'm hearing is the guy who won the primary and Eric Adams and Cuomo.
Exactly.
There are a lot of other people running. You will appear on the November ballot, right?
I will.
So we needed to talk to you because I when I saw Damien did mention it to me when I saw the promotional flyer he made, I had to look you up and I was like, yo, he's independent. Yo, why don't I hear his name? Like I don't hear his name in the press. So we have a lot of people who work and live in the city who watch the show. So we wanted to have you on the show and give you a chance to talk.
Well, listen, I'm super grateful for being here. So thanks a lot. And, name recognition is not rocket science. It's just a matter of getting out there. Only 10% of New Yorkers so far have voted for Zohran Mamdani, who's the Democratic primary member.
That's right.
I'm here for the 90%. So that's the base I'm going for. And a lot of people don't really know that much about him, frankly. I'm just starting my race. So I'm looking forward to this and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Great.
As a registered independent, why are you running an independent party as opposed to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party?
AJ, for every single reason that you just gave when I was listening to you, if I could while you were talking, I would have said like.
Exactly.
It's like the system is not set up to give us the best possible candidate. So I think I'm a little bit more forgiving to the voters than you are, because there's so many ways in which the game is rigged. I realized this back in 2006. I've been an independent for almost 20 years. And I'm also an independent because I don't want to be part of this blood sport. Now, early in the race, I did my share of attacking candidates, and I realized I was kind of going in a flow that I wasn't comfortable with. So I've been really focusing on getting my message out and helping people understand who I am. But we got to try to figure out a way to disagree more civilly and really to have conversations, even difficult conversations about tough issues in a way that we could just have respect for each other, even if we disagree. So that's the kind of vision that I want to have in City Hall. I'm going to have Democrats, Republicans, independents, people from the Conservative Party. I'm going to have everyone from every walk of life, every political party in my administration.
Yep.
So
now let people know, man, because I was reading your webpage. I'm like, oh man, he's been around, man. He's not like he just haven't popped up, right? You just didn't pop up anywhere. You have been doing work for the people for a long time.
Oh, Dan, that's very, very kind of you.
Yeah, man. I was like, wow. I didn't, I was like,
tell us your story a little bit.
Let people know
who is Jim Walden other than the mayoral candidate?
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm probably a lot like the people that are watching this show, right? I consider myself an independent thinker. Most people in New York do. After all, we're gritty New Yorkers. I love my family. I've been married to the same woman for 25 years. I got 3 kids. Yeah. I did well in school with a lot of hard work, not because I was the smartest guy in the room all the time, but I really worked hard. I was a federal prosecutor for 9 years after a clerkship in Philadelphia. For that 9 years, I was fighting the worst of the worst. I was fighting organized crime, and I was fighting very high-level heroin traffickers that were bringing huge shipments into the country and killing New York communities. So I fought that battle for 9 years, proud to have solved like 25 cold case homicides. And then I've been a private lawyer for 23 years. It would have been super easy for me to stick in a lane, but I felt the calling to service. So for 23 years, I've brought every kind of case you can imagine. For the indigent to get their food stamps back, for the mentally ill and disabled that were being denied Social Security benefits, for school kids that were being victimized by bullying, for low-income housing communities who were living in deplorable conditions. I mean, I could keep going on and on, but you'd get bored. But during that whole time, I met or represented or sued all of the big names that we're talking about, and sometimes stood alongside of them at press conferences and sometimes battled with them in court. So I know city policy, and I decided to run because I want a different, better vision for New Yorkers. I want one that is based on really good policy and vision and hard work. where you have someone that really wants the job for all the right reasons, but doesn't need the job. That's the kind of choice that I think New Yorkers are hungry for, and independent to boot, so that everybody knows I'm not beholden to anyone. I'm the only candidate in the race that literally has a policy on my website to get special interests out of City Hall. We've never had that. Only candidate to form a specific agency to go after corruption and get it out of City Hall once and for all. So I care about all the other issues. I mean, I'd love to talk to you about affordability and our education system. But you know, I'm here to provide solutions to these problems that career politicians can't seem to get right.
I got a comment and a question. So I hope you're better than the last prosecutor that we had as New York City mayor, Rudy Giuliani. so I just couldn't resist because you said prosecutor.
DJ, you got to tell me at the end of the interview, all right? If you say, "Oh, that guy's just like Giuliani," I'm gonna hang my head.
So you went on something that we've been discussing locally, and I have been champion for the whole time we've been doing Black Westchester, the need for campaign reform and the money and special interest in campaigns. These elections are getting more and more expensive. And I always say, when, unfortunately, a lot of us can't put thousands and thousands into a candidate's pocket. So, because of the way it is, you need more and more money to run. So then you take money from either political action committees, special interests, developers, whoever. When those are the people that substantially fund your campaign, once you get in office, those are the calls you answer first when they come. Now, the people got to make an appointment, but those are the calls you have to answer, because you would not be there if it was, you couldn't run without those people. So I think campaign reform is something we need locally, nationally, statewide. I mean, it's something that I've been. So you started to speak about that. I'd like to give you a chance.
Yeah, I'd love to speak about it. Listen, I was on the board of the oldest good government organization in New York City. It's been around for 125 years, Citizens Union, for almost a decade. I really believe in good government, and I really believe in getting special interests out of election. And I'm going to blow your mind, AJ. I put my money where my mouth is. Listen, I've got a lot of wealthy friends and wealthy contributors and people that would love to start a political action committee, or what is called here an independent expenditure, for me. And you know what I did when I saw all this money pouring into the race? I issued a policy, and the policy said, I don't want a PAC. I will disavow any political action committee or IE that gets formed for me. And if anyone contributes to a PAC for me, their name is going on a do not call list at City Hall. And if they then decide to put their request in writing, it's going to go up on a website that's going to be prominent on the homepage, and people are going to be able to see it, and they're going to be able to track exactly who they spoke to and when, so that if we gave preferential treatment to someone who ended up opening a PAC for us, because I can't control whether someone does that, they have to understand that everything is going to be completely transparent in a way like it's never been before. And I also did things in the policy, you guys can look at it at my website, that provides equal access for individuals when we have lobbyists that come in, because you can't not with lobbyists, but when they come in, to give equal opportunities for regular people to come in and oppose the positions and know what the lobbyists said, because the meetings are recorded. So we really, that policy is called Open NYC. People can go on my website. All of the policies that I've formed already, I put them in writing. And at the end, everyone says the same. You have my policy in writing, hold me accountable, because that's the kind of government that we deserve.
So Damon, so while we haven't heard your name yet, it seems like we're going to hear your name a lot, because they're going to be coming after you. There's going to be a whole lot of
bring it on.
money. PAC money spent against you, because
it's too funny.
Yeah, I think it's no. I really think that's I commend you, man. You know, because even locally, like dealing up here in Westchester, we're seeing the emergences of PACs in small city elections here in Westchester County, and it's dangerous. It's very dangerous, because the average person can't spend, you know, the amount of money when you have a whole bunch of developers that are backing a PAC, and they're just they're just outspending people on mailers and everything else, and just manpower on the street. So and it leaves a beholden government, and it becomes even dangerous. What is now? I really wanted to talk to you and every other candidate, because I heard some things from Mamdani about pulling police out of the community. Like I don't know nobody of no ethnic group that do not want police in the community. They want professionalism, they want trust, they want accountability, but they don't want the police pulled out of the community. What is your public safety plan for the 5 boroughs if you become mayor?
Yeah, so what a great question. And I got to say, I've spent a bunch of time in NYCHA communities and other communities that have been disadvantaged. And I've heard the exact same thing as you, which is, why are these people saying they want to pull police out? I mean, the latest idea that seems like it's written in some kind of like elementary school book is they're going to have mental health workers show up for domestic violence calls. You know what the most dangerous calls are domestic violence calls. How does that help women that are being beaten to
exactly?
So I've been in policing in some form or fashion my whole career as a prosecutor, and I've worked with NYPD throughout my career. So I understand policing in a way that I think a lot of the other candidates just don't, including Eric Adams. I would never do to the NYPD what he's done in terms of that terrible leadership that is causing so many problems. So number one, we're having the safety problem that we're having, despite the despite the decrease in crime numbers. We've been digging ourselves out of a hole since the COVID, and we haven't gotten to the levels of crime that we had back before COVID. And even then, we can improve there. So number one, we need more police officers on the street, which is going to be challenging because we got a morale problem with the NYPD. So we have to solve the morale problem, but we can get about 1,000 officers back on the street if we do two things. Suspend the retirement age and let police officers who want to work longer, and get cops out of administrative jobs and onto the street, while we're trying to expeditiously hire more police officers to make up the gap, which is somewhere, depending on who you talk to, between 4,000 and 6,000 police officers. Now, when you bring those officers in, I do believe that there's a better way to train police officers to be more engaged and empathetic with disadvantaged communities. And so I'm talking to experts about this, but I want to extend the police academy by 2 weeks so that before a police officer has a badge and gun, he or she can go into disadvantaged communities and work with community leaders on specific projects, so they get to know them. There's some connection even before they're a police officer. And I just think that will make police officers better police. There are many other ways that we can improve, but what they're going to hear from me is a tone from the top that has respect for the police. The whole defund the police nonsense was always bad policy, and it was bad policy, 5 years ago. It's bad policy now.
Yeah, I think we had, when the whole defund the police. I'm retired law. I did 33 years in Westchester County Department of Corrections, and
I saw corrections, and that is a hard job. So thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you. And look, I know Eric personally, from the Grand Council of Guardians and 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement. So I know Eric personally too. But the problem, I think, when we're talking law enforcement is the actual relationship, and the fact that when the whole George Floyd thing and the defund the police, right? Law enforcement, when we was talking accountability, we was saying, hey, listen, police need to be properly trained. Y'all got them doing too much, right? You got them being social work. You got them doing everything, but you're not training them to deal with de-escalation in the mental health if they coming across somebody that's having a mental health crisis. In Westchester, I'm still fighting for that now, to make sure that police are actually trained, because corrections, we're trained, right? We're trained to de-escalate mental health people and people that have mental illnesses, but police departments are not trained. So we're fighting all that, and then in the process, somehow, some way, somebody started this defund the police thing. And it's like, it's not defunding. It's just saying, y'all got the police responding to social ills that policy created. Bad government policy has created these ills, and then y'all sending the police to solve the problem. Hold on a second. So hold on, let me just finish. So when we was discussing all this from a law enforcement standpoint, law enforcement community standpoint, all of a sudden it's become defund. No, not defund, just properly train and have focus. Look, I don't mind the police responding to domestic violence, but they need to be trained in domestic violence. I don't mind police responding to a mental health crisis, but they need to be trained into mental health de-escalation and know what they're doing, because we're seeing more cases of they're not understanding, and then it goes straight to the gun. There's a story, I think they made a movie out of it. It's called The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain. Mm-hmm. It was a situation where White Plains Police, he set off his home alert alarm by mistake. Life alert alarm by mistake. The police responded. He wouldn't let him in. They ended up tasering him, shooting him with beanbags, and ultimately killing him. All because he set off his life alert alarm by mistake. And Life
Alert called them and said he's okay. He didn't respond when he first called them.
When you watch it as someone, and when you watch this movie, you're gonna be like, you will not believe it's a real story.
They called back and said, he doesn't need, he's okay. They said, no, we're still going to make an entrance. They wouldn't stand down. And they would determine, because of the address, that if they went in, they would find something to justify why they went in. And
Right. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and we need that. And we need better leadership, and we need better leadership in policing, and we need that community. The Warrior, after 9/11, right? What happened? They changed all our clothes into Army gear, right? So now instead of being officer friendly, remember Officer Friendly? I remember Officer Friendly. We became the Warrior on the corner.
And militarized the police.
So the whole police mentality change, which we need to get back to being problem solvers of the community instead of occupiers.
Can I say one last thing too? When the first people, the activists, use the expression defund the police, because it's been co-opted, what they were talking about is every year when we talk about the problems of the police, the government, the city government, what they would do is throw more money at the police. And they were saying, take some of this money in the funding for mental health training and for all these other things. And that's what it originally was. So many other times, we allow our messages to be co-opted, and it became this other thing that was never meant. And you can always find an idiot on the street if you look enough to be like, oh no, we don't need no daggone police. That's probably somebody who's had a lot of problems with the police, but he didn't represent with the people who were really doing it. Because it wasn't about taking away police. It was about what he said, training, and one about adding more medical health professionals, more, because you know what the problem is, and they here in Mount Vernon where we live, so they have funded the programs and services. So the police is the only 24-hour agency to answer these calls now. And we're asking the police, and like Damon said, I've interviewed a lot and talked to a lot of police because of him, and throughout what we do, a lot of them, they're being asked to do too much, and that is a complaint. So it's just a matter of we allowed the message to be co-opted, and a further division between the police and the community because of it, and the other side, utilized that, and they ran with that.
But New York City has a huge building. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you know how to take care of part of the problem. So first of all, everything you guys saying, you're making common sense points. I wish that our elected officials would listen. But one way to take the stress off the police, right, is to get the mentally ill people off the street. We've been hearing this for years, right? From Governor Hochul, from Eric Adams. They're going to get the job done. Okay, what's happened? A couple hundred people have been taken off the
Right.
street. There's still about 2,000 that are either on the street or in
Wow.
Rikers. They need to go into long-term treatment so that they can have the promise of a somewhat normal life, and we have more order and more safety on our streets and in our subways. And I'm not saying this from a hard-hearted perspective, right? This happened to my sister. My sister was profoundly mentally ill. She was in and out of mental institutions her whole adult life. The mental health system failed us. She ultimately went to jail where she didn't belong. She was released and she was stable for a period of time. The institutions failed her again and she ended up dead on the street. And all I know is that her death certificate says suffocation. So that's how I lost my sister. I don't want to lose any more New Yorkers because we can't get our act together. We should be able to make a better world for the mentally ill by getting them the treatment they need, which is a better world for the police officers with less stress and a better world for all of us, because the problems that they cause because they can't control themselves make it really unsafe for people just walking in their playgrounds and on their streets.
And they close some of those institutions too, the facilities.
Right.
So the people don't have nowhere to get services except for the little county jails or whatever. Like that's the only way they're getting their medication and help.
That was the ecosystem, right? So when they closed the facilities, the jail became the mental health facility, because for all of them to get medication and to get help and to see social workers, they ended up having to commit a crime, a small crime, break a window or something like that, to come into the jails to get their services and medications. But then what happened? Bail reform, right? Now you don't go to jail for those little things. So now they're out in the street. And I think the state politicians didn't think that they created this ecosystem right here. So now if they're not going to jail, what are we going to do with them?
It's chaos. It's not good. It's not good for them. It's like every society's measured with how it treats its mentally ill, it's incarcerated, and it's elderly, and it's poor. Right? We do a terrible job on all of those things. And the thing that drives me to distraction is, do you guys know how big the New York City budget is? Next year, it's going to be something like $118 billion. Right?
Wow,
if you
crazy.
added up Los Angeles, the center of Los Angeles, and all the counties around it, their budget somewhere in the 30 to $40 billion range. Ours is 118 billion, but yet we can't figure out how to give the services that are necessary to make all the parts of our system work. That's why I wanted to run, because I know how to solve these things, and that's what I want to do.
We have a question from, and I don't know about this, so maybe you can speak to. Yeah, she asked a question. Speaking of the NYPD, if you can speak on it, wondering what you think about the 30+ NYPD officers who are facing possible termination. I believe a judge has put a hold on it now. I'm not sure what she's talking about, but maybe you know and can speak on it. If you don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm not aware. I mean, the only thing that I was aware of is that a bunch of officers got fired for not taking the COVID vaccine, and some of them, those cases are still going on. It may be that she's talking about, and I have taken a public position on this, which is I would rehire those people that were fired for not taking the vaccine. I'm a vaccine guy. I believe in science, but I also believe that people should be able to make their own decisions, and to fire people when generally a lot of people weren't showing up to work anyway seemed crazy to me. Cops obviously had to show up, but there were plenty of ways to put them on modified duty because there were so fewer people in the city. So if that's what she's talking about, that I put this in writing, which is on day one, I would rehire every single public servant who was fired for not taking the vaccine. And if it ever happened again, I would have a completely different system where we would work with each individual person to try to figure out a job that they could do and work out that on a person by person basis.
Yeah, so we're gonna move on. I wonder. So when I did a journalism fellowship with the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism, and one of the things they had me cover was the last New York City race and the first year of ranked choice voting.
Oh wow!
So what is your opinion and your thought process on the whole ranked choice voting system?
So 2021 was the first one, and
Right.
from my perspective, all of the best candidates got chewed up in ranked choice voting. And
Mhm.
the way that the elections are scheduled, to the point that you were making, AJ, before, doesn't do a great service to voters. They should have elections at the same time as federal elections. That's when the turnout's going to be bigger. That's when people are more dialed into politics. They do that for a reason, right? They claim it's a neutral reason, but I don't believe that. And I think my jury's still out on ranked choice voting. I wasn't as dialed into it during 2021, but afterwards, the candidate that I was supporting got chewed up. Catherine Garcia, a lot of other good candidates got chewed up. This time, the Democrats took it to a new level where, this engineering of votes
Yeah, that
tried
was
to
crazy.
get Mamdani elected. To me, if that's the way the system works, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I put a proposal out to the other candidates that are now opposing Mamdani. And I'm concerned that we're going to have a spoiler situation where
Mm-hmm.
the four
Mm-hmm.
candidates that are opposing him are going to split the vote and then end
Yep.
up getting him to walk into City Hall. So I'm concerned about that, not because anyone's putting pressure on me. I mean, I'm the one that's pulling the lowest so far, although my race has just started. But I put it in writing, right? So I challenged the other candidates to a poll at the end of September, the beginning of October. We would all contribute to the poll. We'd work out the details of it, but it's a winner-take-all poll, so that if the Campaign Finance Board allowed this, we would either withdraw or we would throw our support behind the front runner of that poll. And I don't care if I have the surge of the century and I'm 1 point behind the next highest person. If I'm not the top dog, I will step out of the race, because it's much more important that we set up a one-on-one, because I really don't think that centrist Democrats, who are the people that really control elections in the city, I don't think that they're going to vote for a 33-year-old with a paper-thin resume, with pretty radical ideas, who's anti-cop, et cetera, et cetera. I don't believe that centrist Democrats are going to elect this guy when you add Republicans and independents into the mix. And now there's a million independents in New York City. They outnumber Republicans.
Right.
So I just don't want there to be a spoiler situation, and I'd rather put my personal ambitions below the interests of the city.
And they found a loophole, if you will, because I actually saw things that said, "Do not pick Cuomo as your number two." They didn't tell you who to vote for, but it was just telling you, don't pick Cuomo as the number two. And I seen this here in Westchester, so I'm sitting here like, yo, wow, they actually, I don't know who, this was a concerted effort. Like, I'm not a Cuomo fan, but I'm just saying this was a concerted effort that he was not ranked number two, so that he couldn't get those votes that you would need, when they do that whole thing. And I was like, wow, that's really deep. Like, I mean, and there was a lot of that, and I don't think that was one candidate. I think that was across the board. Like,
there are a lot of people.
Well, I mean, it's just like they all piled up on Cuomo. They all said that, don't bring promo for number two, and it worked, right? It's unfortunate that they in other words, they hacked the system, right? But that shows that it doesn't work.
Right.
That it really doesn't work.
I say that to say, while we needed bail reform, the bail reform needs to be reformed. While ranked choice voting was a good idea, I think we need to be looking at things like that, and we need to reform it so we can prevent things like that. So that was the purpose of me bringing that up. So,
yeah, no, it's a great point.
What else are you passionate about? What else is on your platform?
Education.
Education. I wanted to talk about education, and then let's talk about housing, because
that's what I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, because Mamdani's talking about, I don't know how he's going to pull some of the stuff that he's pulling off. And, let's go into education. Then I really want to talk about housing.
We can go right to housing if you want to.
Okay, yeah, man.
But he's offering, I think, rent freezes for I don't have it in front of me, but I know there was a talk of a rent freeze.
Yeah, so
unless you're going to give some kind of tax break to actually the landlords too, like, I mean, like that hurts. How does that work? Exactly. I mean, And as a renter, I respect the rent freeze more than anybody else. Let me just tell you, but I understand, how the ecosystem actually works.
So do you guys probably know this, right? There's about 440,000 people in New York City that can't afford their rent, even though they're in the rent stabilization cohort, the rent stabilization program. So freezing rents is not going to be helpful. What is going to be helpful is lowering the rents, right? You can do that with free market solutions, right? So freezing rents that are already too high sounds like a great punchy slogan, but my plan's fundamentally different, right? What we need is more housing, and we've got
Right.
so much regulation and red tape, and we make it so hard on developers and people like Mamdani who call all developers evil. It's like you're going to shoot the mailman when you want your mail on time. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Right.
So
Right.
I've worked with the development community over the course of the last 23 years, and I know how development works. So I'm going to get 50,000 new rent stabilized apartments built every year that I'm mayor. And I'm going to either build or restore them because there's a whole bunch that have been warehoused. So the first year it's going to be hard to build in that quickly. So in my first year, it's restore. Every year after that, it's going to be new builds. And we're going to have a new program that gives you a rent that's based on your borough. It's not city. It's not based on one of these silly citywide numbers, so that people in Brooklyn and the Bronx are starting at a number they already can't afford. Like the median income for the rent stabilization program is $60,000. There are people that aren't making $10,000, right? So you start with a local adjusted median income AMI, and then you cap it at 25%, so that people, that's a livable rent. You do that, and a lot of rent stabilized tenants are going to breathe a sigh of relief. You can get there with a sensible program that has balance and gives trade-offs to developers. You just have to want to do it, and you have to partner with the free market to do it, rather than thinking the government can do it all, because the government can. Your point is the right one. What are you going to do with the landlords that already are not making capital investments because they're making razor thin margins?
Right.
So it's just not sensible. It's almost like child's play when you hear these programs and you just go like one level below the surface and you realize he really wants to be the mayor of social media, not the mayor of New York City.
Right. What about in line with that was the raising? Someone said, why not raise salaries instead of lowering rents? Raise the minimum wage. I think he was talking about minimum wage of $30 maybe, or something like that. And again, as a business owner, an independent business owner, a small black business or minority business, you barely can pay. Raising the minimum wage is people need a livable wage. I get that, but raising it to an astronomical number that the employers can't pay, I don't know how that works. So there has to be, wages need to go up a little bit, rents need to go down a little bit. How do you navigate that ecosystem? How do you to make it more livable for New York City residents?
Right. So part of it really is, one of the reasons that we have taxes is to have the best safety net available. We could have a better safety net if we just got our act together and we could run the city in a reasonable way. Continuing to tax and increase taxes on businesses and putting unfunded mandates on them is really just going to chase more businesses out of the city. Just to get a building built is so expensive now that a lot of developers have literally said, I'm not developing in New York anymore because I just can't make enough money. They want to do the same thing with landlords, right? There are landlords in Staten Island and the Bronx that are making like a 2% margin. How are they going to have money to invest? So I don't know whether or not wages need to go up in certain sectors, or there's a way to partner with industries in order to attract better paying jobs. But that's my plan. Revolves around relieving a lot of the regulatory red tape that makes business harder to do in New York, and bringing new businesses here, businesses with good paying jobs with benefits to increase the tax base. The larger the tax base, the lower you can have taxes and still have even more money for a safety net. That's a well-functioning free market economy where we can lift people up. So I'll give you a good example. I have a kids in poverty program that's going to be part of the housing program that I have. Kids in poverty is a way to set aside a nest egg for the 29,000 kids that are born in poverty every year in New York City. Each one of them will get a payout when they're 18 years old that they can use to, buy a home or pay for an education or pay for vocational school or have a nest egg. So that money will be there for them. We'll tie it to attendance rates at school to make sure we give kids and parents an incentive to show up for school. That'll be better outcomes. That's a way to use our system to lift people up, and that's what I want to do.
Go ahead.
No, we're going to move into education.
Okay.
Right. That was a leeway right into
right. That's what I was going to say. Right. Yeah, that was a segue into
education.
Yeah.
What is your education plans? Because I've been big on really putting trade back in schools. So young people, I mean, I did an article, there's 800,000 open jobs in trades that we're not preparing our young children to be part of that market, and it's a great way to raise a family, have benefits, and either become an entrepreneur. A plumber is more valuable than a social media icon, right? But we're not preparing. I have this argument in Westchester. We're not preparing especially our young Black men, to go out here and get these opening jobs, that are open. With AI, we don't even know which way AI is taking a lot of jobs, but you need a plumber. You need a heat pipe person.
It's so funny because AI can do a lot of things, but it can't build a building, right? It can't fix a toilet. It can't fix a sink, right? So I completely agree with you. And there's a lot of money and security and benefits and good that can come out of really investing in bringing back things like shop and vocational trades, and not just literally leaving that to the private sector to squeeze people that can't afford the extra tuition to learn how to fix a car and become a mechanic, which is obviously super important and even more complicated now with the development in cars and the switch to hybrids and electrics. So we need capable people in that sector. I want to bring an electric car company to New York City and have a program to replace the entire fleet of city cars and taxis with electric and build infrastructure. We're going to need people for those jobs. So I agree, it's excellent. But in addition to that, I really want to help the kids that are struggling in disadvantaged communities in particular. Like I'm a public school kid. I was almost left behind by my school. I literally made it out once they realized that I wasn't an idiot, that they put me in the kinds of programs that helped me get where I am today. But there's too many kids in our schools in New York City that are failing because the system's not supporting them enough. So in fourth grade and eighth grade, these kids can't even read at grade level. They can't do math at grade level. So that's going to be another area where I'm going to focus. I'm going to really shrink school sizes in a pilot program in disadvantaged communities. So there's like 8 to 10 kids, and I'm going to put master teachers in those classrooms with professional support to try to get kids up to an 80% proficiency rate in my first term. It's going to be hard to do. It's an ambitious goal. But if we leave those kids behind, their educational opportunities are just done.
Right, and that's the future. Exactly. One of our viewers was asking, "What's your views on charter schools?" There's always that charter school versus public school thing, and they're having in New York State, all over right now. Westchester, we have that. Mount Vernon, we're having that conversation. So, what's your views on charter schools?
Mets versus Yankees.
Okay.
It's a false choice in my view. I mean, a part of this is because there are issues with charter schools and the teachers union. Listen, people deserve choice, right? People should be able to choose charter schools, parochial schools, yeshivas, private schools. They should be able to have choice, and choice is good. Choice makes us better, and choice now gives us the opportunity to try to co-locate schools. So there's also economic diversity that kids are growing up in as they're going to school. So there's nothing but good things that come out of choice. So I'm a supporter, but at the same time,
what do you say to those who say, like, so if you have money, you can afford to send your child to private school, you can afford, but those who can't and their children need help, you know what I'm saying? Then they can't go to charter schools and private schools and all of that.
so there's a couple of solutions to that, AJ. Number one is to try to help private schools bring more kids in on scholarships the way they do in college. I mean, I could never have afforded my college. I mean, I literally was on my own. My parents didn't pay a dime. I had to like figure out how to do it. And the school gave me a lot of financial aid. But now there are a lot of private schools that are super wealthy, and there are grants that can help get disadvantaged kids into private schools and into charter schools and into parochial schools. And I think that that's a great thing. So I don't want to have a two-tiered system. I want to bring the public schools up to the level where, you know, we have Stuyvesant, we have Bronx Science, we have really amazing schools that are really well run. We've shown that public schools can give the same or better outcomes than some private schools. We just got to get our act together to get the job done. And mayor after mayor after mayor just hasn't tackled the tough problems. So what happens? You know, you leave the rotting fruit on the counter. What's going to happen, right? You're going to attract a lot of flies and get stink. That's really what's happened in our political system for as long as I've been in New York, which is a long time.
Damon?
How would you climate and infrastructure goals? That's what I wanted to talk about. Now, you know, New York City got a lot of smoke and things going on, and you know, I'm into health and wellness, and part of the thing is the air that we breathe. You know, especially in the hard parts of New York. How as mayor, how would you affect more clean air for the city?
Yeah.
What would be your plan?
Yeah. So if you don't mind, if I can expand on that just a little bit, because there's two things. There's kind of like the cleanliness of the environment that we have. And then there's also resilience against climate change that's here, right? We see that it's here, right? And we're not nearly where we need to be when the next superstorm Sandy hits. So there's a big plane that's got to be landed there. And guess what? There are billions of dollars in Washington that are earmarked for resilient infrastructure that we need. So it's a super complicated thing. So I'll just talk about kind of the top line issues. Number one, I'm going and getting the pollution in the waterways around, particularly around the Bronx and Queens, because those have been a blight on communities, on health, on development and building more housing. So that's one of the things that I want to go after. I don't want to have another situation like Gowanus, where we have all these huge buildings now where people are moving in there, families are moving in, and there's still toxic material underneath the surface. The EPA hasn't even finished the study yet to tell us how bad it is, because they built before they did all the testing.
Wow.
Number two, I want to be the mayor for the waterfront, right? There's so many things that we can do with the waterfront. We've never had a deputy mayor who's in charge of the waterfront, so that we have an enforceable and unified policy on things like, now getting to your point, on projects like the Billion Oyster projects to kind of rebuild some of the things that we need in the water to keep the water clean. And we got to land the plane if we want to get better quality of air. Traffic is a big deal, and the way that we've gone about trying to solve this problem doesn't make any sense. What we need is a program to convert all of our cars to electric cars, and we need a plan to paint all of our roofs white or have reflecting material on every roof that is possible. And we need composters in our kitchens, because that technology is now available. It's a better solution. It creates less waste, less rats, etc. So there's a billion things that we need to be doing, but we're prioritizing vanity projects and virtue signaling projects, which is why we have a tremendous amount of waste in our city budget. If we redirect that money to the things that we really need, like a water barrier, which has never been completed across the area to protect the city from a massive water surge, we can get these problems solved.
I wanted you spoke about. I wanted your thoughts on the whole congestive pricing thing and the subway infrastructure.
Oh yeah. Look, do you want me to just jump in?
Yes.
Yeah. So by the time I would start as mayor, the congestion pricing ship will have sailed. I really wanted to be in a position to stop the program because it was rolled out in such a haphazard way that there are exceptions that are really necessary for public servants, for example, for people who live in the zone but are still paying congestion pricing for leaving, which makes no sense. If I had my druthers, I'd stop it, re-engineer it, and then maybe relaunch it if we need it. But we should have just had better planning. I mean, if we want less congestion and less carbon, there were better ways to go about it than smacking people with sticks over driving. We would have given them better alternatives to choose to get out of their cars. So I'm a carrot and a sticks guy. I believe in carrots first and sticks only when and if you need them. That's like the way government should work. So I would have started with programs to incentivize drivers to get out of their cars, including, by the way, not rolling out congestion pricing when we were having an epic problem with crime. Talk about like common sense. Hey, how about not trying to force drivers out of their cars while people are getting murdered on the subway? So that's kind of where I land with congestion pricing. AJ, what was the second part of your question?
You started to go there, the subway infrastructure.
Oh yeah,
making the subway, working on the infrastructure and also making it safe. Safer for people to use that more and get off the roads.
Yeah. So I'll deal with both. And this issue about the infrastructure, it's like I'm losing my hair already. By the time I'm done on this issue, I'm going to be completely bald because it just drives me crazy. Do you guys know why we can't have trains like they have in London or Tokyo? Because the signals literally date back to the creation of the subway. So we've got somewhat modern trains that are using a signal system that's more than a century old. Like, no wonder that the trains don't run that well, right? So the problem that nobody ever wants to tackle, despite the billions of dollars that the MTA has, is you got to close down some of these lines to strip out the signals, to put new signals in, and they're going to cost like $2 billion a piece just to replace the infrastructure. And then you're going to have to incur costs to make adjustments to allow people other ways to commute during this closure. So I haven't landed the plane on this, but I'll tell you what my goal is, and it's to take back control of the subway, right? I want the funding from Albany, at least for a long period of time, so that we can get our house in order, get the signals replaced, and have trains that are clean, that are safe, and that we can be proud of. So that people come and they say, oh my God, in the greatest city in the world, they actually have the greatest subway system in the world. Wouldn't that be a great objective? But in the meantime, at a baseline, AJ, you're 100% right. We've got to do a better job on the subways. I mean, we've seen crime come down a little bit, but there's still a massive number of assaults. Part of that's got to do with recidivists getting out of jail. And think about what just happened on the J train. The guy that attacked that woman, did you guys see that video on social media?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. On a platform, a guy tries to either kidnap her or whatever.
Yeah, crazy.
Thank God brave people came in and stopped it. But that guy got out of jail the same night that he got arrested. It's crazy. Jesus. He's on video assaulting a woman on a subway. So we have to fix that problem.
And this is.
I want to say something.
That pisses me off, man. I don't even.
The subway thing. So, like, you know what I was thinking? Like, remember when they were trying to attract? Was it Target or whoever it was to build that? Was it Target to build in the Queens area? One of the things that, like, I seen in a local level, right? So, Dave and Buster opened up a location near us, right? But the next city over, Pelham Manor, they did a survey and showed that it was going to be more on police resources, more on this, more on that, and had them as part of the package and moving in, they had to put up an extra $1 million or whatever it was, the money that it would cost the city for those extra resources. When we had Target, I was like, yo, it would have been great if you had brought them in, gave them an incentive, but also in bringing them in, had them work on the infrastructure of the 7 train, which is the train that would have been going there, which needed a lot of work and everything. And that would have been a great way of getting our subway up to date and bringing business to the thing at the same time. It was Amazon. I'm sorry, I said Target. Thank you, Jack. It was Amazon. We need to think out the box like that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You want a job in City Hall, AJ? Because I can already tell that you guys got great ideas. Yeah, so I mean, you're using common sense. That's not allowed these days, apparently.
No, absolutely not. It's insane. Politics is just it's insanity. It's just straight insanity at this point. I don't want to keep you, but we saved this one for the last one.
Hope it's a hot potato.
How are you going to work with the Trump administration as mayor?
Listen, listen, it's going to take people one Google search to find out my position with respect to the president and January 6th. So there's no question about my advocacy there. But listen, I'm in a different chapter of life, right? I want to be the mayor of New York City. I want to have a productive relationship with Washington. They need us and we need them. I mean, we generate more wealth for this country than any other city. There's more than $1 trillion of value from all over the country that comes through New York. They need us to be a fully functioning city with an adult in charge of City Hall. So that gives us some leverage. So, I've given what I hope is the resume that I built of, I've sued Republicans, I've sued Democrats. I've worked with Republicans, I've worked with Democrats. I've worked with a lot of people in the center. I think that I can work with them. Now, working with them means by New York values. So they want cooperation on criminal migrants. Okay, I get it. No, like we should start there. They want to tear families apart. No, they want to show up in immigration courts and pull people out. I'm not down with that. I think it's a terrible idea. And all it does is cause people not to go to court. And then you don't even know where they are. So it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I believe in due process of law. So I'm going to, use our leverage because, for 30 years, I've been cutting some pretty important deals between warring factions in terms of the practices that I've had. So I want to cooperate where we can and have self-determination where we need. And that's true with respect to Washington. It's true with Albany. A lot of times Albany's telling us what to do and giving us unfunded mandates that makes the city harder to manage. So we have to, we're New York City. Like we're tough, we're gritty, and we shouldn't have anyone, whether it's Albany or the federal government, telling us what to do on things that are within our purview. That's the way I want to run City Hall.
Anything we didn't ask you that you want people to know? And also, even though I put it on the website, people were asking for your website. So I put it up, but give you a website, how people can contact you, and anything that we didn't ask you that you want people to know.
Well, it's very kind. I want to first say, before I say anything else, thank you guys for having me on, because I really enjoyed the discussion, and I hope I can come back. My website,
man, you're welcome, bro.
Thank you. My website is jim4nyc.com. That's JIMFORNYC.com. And the only thing that I would say, but we kind of touched on this already, is I understand that we've lived through a clown car of politics in this city, in City Hall and in other elected offices. I just want people to understand, whether they vote for me or not, it doesn't have to be this way. Right. We can have people that really want to do the job. They're not trying to be governor. They're not trying to be president. They just want to go serve, do a really good job, and make people proud of City Hall again. And like, when was the last time that we could really say that we had a City Hall that we could be proud of for every community? So that's what I want to do. And I hope people hold me accountable because, my policies are there and that's what they're intended to do.
You said, hope we have you back on. Hope that you will come back on, especially if you win. Hopefully you will use us as an avenue and to keep informing the people. But also whatever you feel passionate about that and want
man,
to
reach
address
out.
with politics or whatever, I hope that you just reach out and we have a regular relationship, and you let everybody know what's going on in New York City that we need to know about.
Wait, so I'll make you a deal, which is, I don't know if you guys saw this, but one of the things that I want to do for government transparency and also to bring needed resources to communities that are traditionally unseen, like Mott Haven, I want to have a satellite city halls where I literally go work there. So we'll do a couple podcasts, assuming I get elected, obviously, up there, so it's closer to you guys coming down from Westchester, and it'll be great. We'll do it right in the satellite city hall in Mott Haven, the Bronx.
Yeah, that would be great, bro.
What do you
That's
feel? Also, the purpose
That'd
of
be
the purpose of the fellowship I was on was about independent media, and there's a lot of various independent media of all different kinds. And what is your stance on working with independent media, not just the mainstream media, to get the word out, because they give the word to those communities,
Listen, I'll give you my experience, right? Was that the first policy? Is it okay if I answer this?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
First policy that I put out, because it was right at the time when both President Trump and Eric Adams were being very disrespectful to the media and putting in rules and conditions that, listen, I don't expect everyone to love me. I don't expect everyone to kowtow to me, whether I'm mayor or I'm not mayor. I believe that the media is critically important to the preservation of our democracy, particularly the independent media. So I put out a policy. The first policy I put out was with my relationship with the media and what I was going to do to make sure that we didn't replicate this. But one thing about the media that I will just say that I wish that we could improve is that there was more openness in the mainstream media to candidates like me, because it has been very hard to get the media. And let's be honest, most of the reporters are Democrats, whether they say so or not. It's very hard to get them and their publishers to give a platform to candidates, even ones that did as much public service as I did. So I think that we need more independent media like you guys, and I'm fully in support of it.
That was one of the selling points. Once I seen that Damon had invited you, that I was really eager, because again, like I said, I really didn't hear your name much before Damon made the probe. I did actually do an article listing all the candidates, so you were definitely listed. But other than that, I didn't hear much about you, and I had to look you up before having you on the show. And I hope that this video, because a lot of people watch live, but much more people watch it after the fact, that people will see this, and people can make more informed decisions at the ballot box. This is our goal, and hopefully we help shine more of a light on what you represent and everything. And we would, if you win or lose, we'd like to have a relationship with you. But if we win, we definitely have a relationship with you. And even though this is a great interview, if you mess up, we're gonna hold your feet to the fire.
I love it. But when I have the surge and I'm at 25%, we have to do this again. But we have to do it all together in a room, and we'll laugh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
man. Absolutely. That's great, man. But thank you, man. Thank you for your time. I know you're busy. You got a lot of things to do, and we thank you for coming on and discussing. And like AJ said, win or lose, man, you're welcome back to the show. We love to have the conversation, especially around New York City, to let people know, because even though we're based in Westchester, people will call people in New York City. A lot of people from the Bronx watch the show, and it's just a beautiful thing to have you on, so people can know who you are, because it's all about choice, and it's all about making a good choice to whatever people feel that they need for themselves in New York City. So we want to give them, the great everybody. We want to give them everybody, man, so they could choose, man. And
if your Bronx followers, I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
And if you win, just don't follow your predecessor De Blasio and ship your homeless up here, because we can have a problem. De Blasio was busing homeless people to Mount Vernon.
Listen, where they put homeless and the drug treatment centers, somebody should do a map of all those and see which counties have the most. I'm dialed into that issue. But for your people in the Bronx, invite me out to your block. I want to come meet you. So go to Jim@Jim4NYC.com. That's Jim@Jim4NYC.com. Invite me. I literally am doing a citywide tour. You guys are going to laugh. You should join me on it. So we've got a 2-car caravan wrapped in campaign swag, and we're playing a playlist that's got great stuff. It's like Stevie Wonder and you know, and like the Bee Gees and like all the 70s kind of disco stuff. And we're driving all around the city and making people laugh and smile, and it's going to be great. So for those people in the Bronx, yeah, give us a buzz, give us an email, and we'll come up and see you.
All right.
Definitely. Thank you, man.
Thank you for your time and good luck.